sometimes acrimonious, sometimes uplifting, made us, the Indian team, grow and rise. As individuals, we were asked to play to the absolute outer limit of our capabilities, and we often extended them. Now, whenever India and Australia meet, there is an expectation and anticipation. As we get into the next 2 months of the Border Gavaskar Trophy, players on both sides will want to deliver their best. When we toured in 2007-8, I thought it was going to be my last tour of Australia. The Australians thought it was going to be the last time they would be seeing Sachin Tendulkar on their shows. He received warm standing ovations from wonderful crowds all around the country. Well, like a few creaking Terminators, we are back. Older, wiser, and I hope improved. The Australian public will want to stand up to send Sachin off all over again this time. But I must warn you, given how he's been playing these days, there are no guarantees about final goodbyes. In all seriousness though, the cricket world is going to stop and watch Australia and India. It is Australia's first chance to defend their supremacy at home, following defeat in the 2010 Ashes and a drawn series against New Zealand. It is India's opportunity to prove that the defeat in England in the summer was an aberration that we will bounce back from. If both teams look back on their 2007-8 series in Australia, they will know that they should have done things a little differently in the Sydney Test. But I think both sides have moved on from there. We've played each other twice in India already, and relationships between the teams is much better than they have been as far as I can remember. Thanks to the IPL, Indians and Australians have shared dressing rooms. Shane Watson's involvement in Rajasthan, Mike Hussey's role with Chennai, to mention a few, are deeply appreciated back home. And even Shane Warne likes India now. I really enjoyed playing alongside him at Rajasthan last season, and can confidently report to you he's not eating imported baked beans anymore. Actually, in fact, looking at him the other day, it seems he's not eating anything. It is often said that cricketers are ambassadors for their country. When there's a match to be won, sometimes we think that it is an unreasonable demand. After all, what would career diplomats do if the result of a test series, say, depended on them walking? But as ties between India and Australia have strengthened and our contests have become more frequent, we realize that as Indian players, we stand for a vast, varied, often unfathomable and endlessly fascinating country. At the moment, to much of the outside world, Indian cricket represents only two things: money and power. Yes, that aspect of Indian cricket is a part of the whole, but it is not the complete picture. As a player, as a proud and privileged member of the Indian cricket team, I want to say that this one-dimensional, often cliched image, relentlessly repeated, is not what Indian cricket is really about. I cannot take all of you into the towns and villages our players come from and introduce you to their families, teachers, coaches, mentors, and teammates who made them international cricketers. I cannot take all of you here to India to show you the belief, struggle, effort, and sacrifice from hundreds of people that runs through our game. As I stand here today, it is important for me to bring Indian cricket and its own remarkable story to you. I believe it is very necessary that cricketing nations try to find out about each other, try to understand each other and the different role cricket plays in different countries, because ours is eventually a very small world. Indian cricket is buzzing, humming, living entity, going through a most remarkable time like no other in our cricketing history. In this last decade, the Indian team represents more than ever before the country we come from, of people from vastly different cultures, who speak different languages, follow different religions, belong to all classes of society. I went around our dressing room to work out how many languages could be spoken in there, and the number I've arrived at is 15, including Shona and Afrikaans. Most foreign captains, I think, would balk at the idea. But when I led India, I enjoyed it. I marveled at the range of difference and the ability of people from so many different backgrounds to share a dressing room, to accept, to accommodate, and respect that difference. In a world growing more insular, that is a precious quality to acquire, because it stays with you for life and helps you understand people better. understand the significance of the other. Let me tell you one of my favorite stories from my under-19 days. When the Indian under-19 team played a match against the New Zealand junior team, we had two bowlers in the team, one from the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, and he spoke only Hindi, which is usually a link language for players from all over India, ahead even of English. It should have been all right, except that the other bowler came from Kerala in the deep south, and he spoke only the state's regional language, Malayalam. Now even that should have been okay because they were both bowlers and could bowl simultaneous spells. Yet in one game they happened to come together at the crease. In the dressing room we were in splits, wondering how they were going to manage the business of a partnership, calling for runs or sharing strike. Neither man could understand a word of what the other was saying, and they were batting together. This could only happen in Indian cricket, except that these two guys came up with a 100-run partnership. Their common language was cricket, and it worked out just fine. The everyday richness of Indian cricket lies right there. Not in the news you hear about million-dollar deals and television rights. When I look back over 25 years I've spent in cricket, I realized two things. First, rather alarmingly, that I'm the oldest man in the game, older even to Sachin by 3 months. But more importantly, I realized that Indian cricket actually reflects our country's own growth story during this time. Cricket is so much a part of our national fabric that in India, its economy, society and popular culture transformed itself, so did our most loved sport. As players, we are appreciative beneficiaries of the financial strength of Indian cricket. But we are more than just mascots of that economic power. The caricature often made of Indian cricket and its cricketers in the rest of the world is that we are pampered superstars, overpaid, underworked, treated like a cross between royalty and rock stars. Yes, the Indian team has an enormous emotional following, and we do need security when we get around the country as a group. It is also where we make it a point to always try and conduct ourselves with composure and dignity. On tour, I must point out, we don't attack fans or do drugs or get into drunken theatrics. And at home, despite what some of you may have heard, we don't live in mansions with swimming pools. The news about money may well overpower all else. But along with it, our cricket is full of stories the outside world does not see. Television rights generated around Indian cricket are much talked about. Let me tell you what the television around those much sought after rights has done to our game. A sport that was largely played and patronized by princes, businessmen, in traditional urban centers, cities like Bangalore, Bombay, Chennai, Baroda, Hyderabad, Delhi, has begun to pull cricketers from everywhere.